Beep boop boop.
All right. Then let's just get right into it. So I set up my little chair here, make sure the cats aren't doing anything. All right. Because you know them. All right. Welcome back to the Talk Past podcast. Of course, as I open up a water bottle immediately as I start recording. Again, this is the host, NC, and our co-host.
It's me. I'm wearing socks. The War Queen, aka Red Iron Riot.
Indeed, for some reason, I am too. I'm actually wearing ankle socks. Not really. They're a little over the ankle. Calf socks, I guess.
Listen, my phone is telling me it's like 50 degrees outside right now, so I'm wearing socks.
Indeed, but I'm wearing just like generic white socks. I don't wear, me. I wear those thigh-high fair socks because those are warm and they are long-lasting. So, speaking of fair socks, this episode we are going to go ahead and discuss. Well, how do you get your gear? Last time we discussed how to get into Re-Enactment. So once you're in Re-Enactment, if you're new, or even if you're a veteran, well, you're going to have to start getting some gear. So
Yes.
I know you and I have some good, helpful tips in terms of how to put your kit together. And you also reached out to some friends, both in the YouTube community and within our circle. So let's get started. Where do you want to start? Like what part of the body? Like accessory, clothing, weapon?
Well, I think as with all things, especially when we start at fair stuff, the shoes should be number one.
Precisely. That literally is the first thing we're always told. In fact, that's probably like the most important thing. So much so we mentioned it in the last episode.
About reenactorism, yes.
Getting into Re-Enactment, but also reenactorism. I think
Yes.
every chance we get, we mention Son of Sandlars.
Yes.
Basically, every time you and I talk, at least. But
I mean,
that's
it's
obviously
hard.
the
It's
first
hard
place
not
go.
to. They're good boots.
They are. No, seriously, even though it is completely and utterly anachronistic, if your group is historically accurate, then obviously don't take this suggestion because it's not going to be good for you. But if your group, your festival, your living history, whatever you're doing, does allow that leeway, absolutely, it's expensive. However, it is the only pair of boots you're ever going to own in Re-Enactment.
And considering, it's one of those things about investing and stuff. It's what you put in, you're gonna get out. If you buy shit boots, you're gonna be eating grass.
Right. I mean, Son of Sandlars is pretty much the highest tier of product you can get for reenactors, unless there's someone else out there that's better, which I have not heard yet. But if you're able, I think they're U.S. based. Maybe have them on the podcast.
Well, so the thing is that Son of Sandlar is specifically the boots. This is why you can say, we say, where do you get your boots? We say Sandlars because, like Age of Craft has boots. There's a whole bunch of companies that do supply boots that would work for reenactors. But
really quick to interject, Son of Sandlar is family owned, so it's not a weird corporation. And it's also based in Savannah, Georgia. Continue.
But it's at this point, I do not know a company that can be like, oh, well, you can get boots from them. It's, you can say, oh yeah, there's a lot of companies like Age of Craft, Lord of Battles that supply boots that will work. But, we could say from experience, we have that if you are looking to get into it, Son of Sandlar is the one you want to go to. Right.
Now I'm on their website really quick here because I don't want to bash them for being anachronistic and then they suddenly have something that's good. But I mean, yeah, it is anachronistic in the sense of like what we wear for our show. It's great for our show. It's perfect. Are the Peasant Boots. They're very simple. They're lace up. I think they're knee-high boots. However, they do have ankle boots, which is more appropriate. They also sell brown pairs, which is even more appropriate. Obviously, the soles aren't.
So this is one of those things that we discussed it in the reenactorisms episode,
Mhm.
but it's also we have to find that balance between
That
what
happy medium.
is we have to find that happy medium between what works and what works, visual wise, what conveys that visual elements of medieval, and what also convey, what also actually works. And
Right.
and we've mentioned it before, and again, this is probably something we'll be saying every time we talk about it. The soles that Son of Sandlar uses for their boots are good for what you do with them.
Exactly. Now the flip side, because obviously they're not historically accurate. So every suggestion that we make that is anachronistic or is a place that's like a website, every suggestion, you can go to Etsy and find the historically accurate version of it. Um, I'm on Etsy right now as well. There is a plethora of wonderful local vendors on Etsy that
Mm-hmm.
make artifact replicas of shoes for whatever period you're in. So for us, it's medieval. Let's just say Viking, just for example, because I love that period. You can find uh, artifact period accurate Viking, Saxon, Welsh, what have you, turn shoes on Etsy. And you can
Mm.
also, big suggestion, uh, you can go on Etsy and fine tune it to shops that are specifically in your area, whether it's in your country, in your state, in your zip code. So obviously, depending on the location, you might have a have a harder time getting it in your state or zip code. But if you can at least get it in your country, that would be better. So if you have to do historically accurate, definitely go the Etsy route if you cannot make it yourself.
Hmm. Also, again, it's Etsy, so this is probably somebody who actually, knows this craft and handcrafted it.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest going local and going with these small businesses, family-owned businesses, if not single individual, rather than corporate. But even things like Cult of Athena and Medieval Collectibles will at least you can fine tune it to those little individuals. But moving on, that is shoes.
Hmm.
Obviously, what's on your shoes is, or not on your shoes, but underneath is your socks.
Yes.
Um,
And this is one of those things where it's just like, unless you are really, packing it in to be medieval authentic, just wear comfortable socks. I
yes.
I actually tend to use those compression socks, considering
Okay.
that we mostly would spend all day in our footwear
Yep.
and on our feet, and they help.
Yeah. So I have a pair of compression socks, but they're not like something that we can wear. It was just to try out what compression socks are like. But obviously, the socks I'm known for wearing are those socks made by Heroes Haven,
Hmm.
and those are the thigh high socks that are handmade, striped
Hmm.
socks. But they also do just a variety of stuff. It's just the striped ones are the cheaper. Um, Let me pull up Heroes Haven. See, I'd never even go to their website because they're a vendor for our show.
Oh, okay. I never really
Yep,
stopped to look at the sock vendors because.
yep. They're actually a vendor for our show, and just excellent quality. Some of the socks that I bought when I started in 2010, I'm still wearing, and they are
Wild,
still in great quality.
wild.
Of course, it depends on how you take care of them. If you ruin them, then you're stupid. But the one they're great, excellent. I think they're made of cotton though.
I'm seeing a lot of varieties. I'm seeing bamboo. I'm seeing linen. I'm seeing cotton. So it looks like they've got the whole gamut.
Yeah, there's a wide variety. The ones that I have are cotton, so obviously not historically accurate. Cotton is very anachronistic to medieval history, but I think they also do wool, so that would be awesome too. Um, but again, you can always make your own socks, or you can go on Etsy. Um, if you're doing the Viking era, as they call it, you can also try null binding.
Mm-hmm.
That's like magic.
It's actually this is going to. I'm calling this an aside. The purpose of the null binding is not what am I? No, wrong thing. Null binding is the process of weaving socks in the Viking era by in a Scandinavian culture. What am I thinking of?
Also, they get
you're thinking
there are
the leg wraps, right?
no binding is. I'm actually thinking null binding is a style of
it's a style
sewing.
of weaving, pretty much.
Yeah, weaving. And historically, we have sock artifacts, but we also have mittens, little winter mittens.
All right, so I think what you're thinking of is the waningas,
no,
which are the leg wrappings.
No, but we should talk about that too.
But, right, put a pin in those.
Null binding. I'm specifically thinking socks.
Okay.
In the mittens, but socks. But yeah, no null binding. When I was thinking about over your shoes, well, that definitely goes over your shoes.
Well, no. Again. Boot. Well, we're talking about socks. We're talking the waningas are the wraps that go over the boots. Null binding is just is just how it's made.
The method, yeah.
Yeah. So you're thinking of the over the boot is the waningas.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so back to the kind of deviation from our actual conversation. They actually serve a really cool purpose in that they protect your legs from getting wet. And if you're a traveler traveling through the snow and you stop at a place, you want to be able to get that wet off of you as soon as boom. You're not actually taking everything off. You're just taking off the wet wraps around your legs. It's actually super cool, and it's that's my nerd moment for the moment. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, do you know any other like sock vendors?
I do not. Again, I am a reenactor that kind of prioritizes a little more personal comfort over straight up 100% authenticity.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's what I've been doing too, until recently. But
I don't really. It's for me. It's always been a bit of word I am looking for budgets. Being budget conscious, yes. Like I will spend. I'm spending the money on the outerwear so that the innerwear is usually a little more cost conscious, and that includes regular socks. And the occasional compression sock.
You can make those forgivenesses for things that people really aren't going to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, likewise. I only know Heroes Haven because it's literally the only sock vendor I buy from. Their socks are handmade or hand knit, and they're just like perfect quality. But I mean, if you have anyone listening, if you have a vendor in the Renaissance Festival, Medieval Festival, SCA, whatever circuit that you choose, I mean, put that down below. Because, I mean, I'll buy from Heroes Haven, but I think it would be nice to have a list of good local vendors.
Oh, for sure.
And then, I mean, basically, Waninga's just a tag on that, the overshoe. Well, we use them over our boots.
Yes.
Because we get to hide our boots.
Yeah.
But, I don't think they wore them over their shoes because their shoes are ankle shoes.
Right, but it protected the bottom of the bottom of the trousers from getting damp while traveling through, waist high snow.
Yeah, those for me at least, I've always just used spare fabric that I've had.
So they're actually supposed to be like they're actually supposed to be very long, like 10 feet at least.
Right.
That's cool.
I'm saying right as if I know. But yeah, no, the ones that we used during the Viking period show was incredible. I mean, the Saxons also had it because they had it too.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I just would take whatever fabric I'm using for my tunic and use the scraps as the waningas.
Yep, I mean, if that will work for if that's what you got to do for your costume, that'll work. But Many Viking reenactment groups I know actually will produce winingas to sell as part of their setup.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
if you know any local Viking reenactment groups, they probably have a source if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Exactly. And again, you could also do Etsy. Um, I think in terms of Weningas, I think I'm more of like, just do it yourself because it's just a long flap of cloth that you can
Right,
pin.
right. Well,
So
and the fun thing is though, if they're very well made and you know how to wrap them, you actually really don't need to pin them.
exactly.
The pins usually just like it's a little bit of extra decorative bling. The way
Yeah.
if, the way you wrap, they're wrapped if they're wrapped properly, which I say it like I know, but I could never get mine to wrap right, and I always it's really awkward. But hey,
I was
it's
able to, but I would have to use the laces of my boots,
mm-hmm.
kind of give it a wrap around.
I think I ended up doing that too.
But then again, we were putting them on our boots, not using them properly. We were using them to hide the fact that we were wearing boots.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
Mm.
Good times.
So then, obviously, since we're going up the body, we I mean, those things are pretty simple. But of course, you've got trousers.
Yes.
Or of course, in most women's cases, dresses, skirts. Yeah.
Tragic.
So, um, so of course, for a medieval period, wool, linen and wool. Linen is your undergarments usually. Wool is always your outer garment. However, of course, we don't do that, do we?
Not really. Nope.
No. But I wanted to mention just a couple things then. So, you could make it yourself. You can use any like fabric store, like ones on Etsy, or like a Burnley and Townbridge Co. suggested by Latina Living History. They have great fabric. I took a look at them before we came on here,
Neat.
and whatnot. However, I've always kind of just got them ready made.
Mhm.
We do usually we do like leggings. We don't really do trousers, except for like quote unquote barbarian scenarios.
I know a lot of the women that perform at our show do leggings. I'm just not. It's just not what I'm comfortable with usually.
Mhm.
So I usually end up constructing my own, or occasionally
Okay.
like it's just one of those occasions like if your group might already have a craftsperson who does that to provide as their profession in reenactment and out of reenactment. Uh, but there's plenty of places that can supply a decently priced pair of pants. You just
Yeah,
have to be careful with the sizing.
exactly. So I mean, I mind blown for me. So here's the thing. So from day one, from my first year doing this, I wore Terramer polymer leggings. They're not even cotton. Like they're Terramer polymer. Whatever the material that is, whatever that is, I have no clue. But they're straight black. I mean, they're not see through.
Mhm.
They're just completely solid black. So it works for what we do. You can't really tell the difference.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm trying to think because I mean, literally, you would have stuff like hose. You would have hose. You would
Mhm.
have trousers. You would have baggy pants. You would have so much stuff that we actually don't even do for our festival
Mhm.
because we wear these leggings.
Mhm. So what you would usually have for most medieval period stuff, you'd want to have what's called the braise, which is
Hmm.
basically the underwear, the actual underwear. And then you'd
Yeah,
have the hose, and that's what actually goes over your legs and it goes up the leg up to pretty much your mid thigh, then it's tied up to the belt. And
exactly.
it sounds weird, but I can see it being very practical for male performers for specific reasons, which I don't need.
Mhm.
I don't think I need to actually specify.
Sure.
And actually, this is an interesting bit of with the Viking Viking style pants. At least there's one pattern, and you look at modern pants nowadays. It's basically you can lay it flat, you can see the seam for the crotch and everything. It's like four flat pieces of fabric sewn together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Viking pants are actually very interestingly constructed. Is that for the crotch area, it is actually like a separate strip of fabric that runs, front to back, and then the fabric for the legs. And it feels like, that'd be much more comfortable for a guy.
Possibly. Now I don't want to say because I know what you're talking about,
mm-hmm.
and for podcast sake or accurate sake, though I know what you're talking about, I've looked at and I have pictures of the artifact. There's very little that's actually literally known about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say that is 100% the case for all pants in that era. However, the pants that you're referencing does have it. So I don't know if that's something that was done because it ripped, or if that's the style that was used for maybe that style of pants. But yeah, no, that's a thing. Maybe we should try to obtain one of those from like an Etsy shop and see how that works.
Possibly. I just know it. This is, it was a pattern I got from the Weird Brothers. So that's where
Yes. Of course, it's common. I'm actually looking at it right now. So another thing that's often considered from that is I'm looking also at a reconstruction. If you Google that, it's from, I believe it's Hedeby. So if you look at the Google search, you got to look at the artifact, right? So there's a recreation that has brown, baggy sides, and then the green is the crotch end. So that's something we know, but I don't know. I can't say for certain if that is something that particular style of pants perpetuated, or if it was just that particular pair of pants on that person who needed a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So without more evidence, I don't want to say anything, but it looks cool, and I want to try it and see if maybe that is something that is more beneficial for, I guess, the male body, or just the body in general.
Right.
But I did want to say, there is also a suggestion, because it's baggy, right?
Right.
Even though we have very little of it, to go off of. Some people tend to, and I'm gonna notate the Welsh Viking, Jimmy, his channel, because he actually references this as well a little bit better than we're probably going to.
Yeah.
But people tend to recreate it with, those pirate breeches with the really tight ends once you reach the knee and the calves.
Yeah.
There is no evidence for that, but people tend to recreate it with that way. However, watching a video from the Welsh Viking, he did it. Sorry, Jimmy, if I, because my memory, if I don't get you right here, but I think he said he did it without them, breeches without them, but found he needed it just to make it fit that area better. So it kind of makes sense that you would have at least a small band of tighter cloth there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Winingas. So I don't know where people get that from, but I feel like it's something that would make sense if you want it to fit. Or maybe they did wear it loose, like shorts. I don't know. Look on Etsy for both. You could probably get it also on Cult of Athena, as well as Medieval Collectibles. Not 100%, but I'm not going to.
I'll just say it's coming from my background where I have worked a little bit with the pattern. It's one of those things that you recognize and be like, huh, that's weird. Wonder why it changed. And it
for reenactment purposes, I'd say go ahead with the recreation if your group is okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if your group is historically accurate, since we have so little of it, literally all we have of that Hedeby trouser is the crotch. That's it. At least from what I'm looking at. If we have more pardon my ignorance, or more of that specific make of trouser. But I would say maybe just play it safe and like don't.
And again, so this is going to be my opinion coming from a design standpoint. Your pants aren't going to be 100% important. They're very, if you've got your good shoes and you've got a leg wrap and you've got armor that's going to be covering your thighs and knees and you've got a tunic that's going to be probably going down to mid thigh, it is very unlikely that folks are going to be seeing your pants. So you can usually get away with skipping a little bit on that.
I think later seasons have tried to get away from wearing those leggings that I have because they are Terramer polymer. And also because we paint our board with acrylic and they stick to my pants and I've got stains on my pants from Cressy year still.
Was it Cressy or was it Magyar year that just like it just kept on raining and the board would not dry?
Oh, I don't even remember.
I think it
was Cressy. It was Cressy because our dear Francine desperately tried to get rid of those stains and they did not come out. Obviously I did manage to get most of it out, 90%. But we tend to get away with like wearing leather, even though that's not a thing. I tend to wear like cotton or literally, I don't wear jeans, but literally just like pants. Modern 21st century pants, because I mean some of us are wearing like tunics, chainmail, etc. That's going to hide that part, and it's going to hide obviously the lower part of the pants, right? You're not going to see that; it's covered by boots.
Yep.
So it's kind of like all the people see is just black. In my case, black. I wear a lot of black. I'm gothic, and it's very anachronistic. But moving on from there, obviously we got kilts. That is deeply anachronistic, but our show right now is doing kilt. I don't know. We'll just pass on that. But I
suffer and struggle every day.
So obviously we talked about men. Men would be wearing hose and trousers, leggings, whatever. Women also wear skirts, dress. I don't really, obviously, because I'm not a woman. I never had to buy a dress or a skirt. That's period. We have a couple people on cast that actually make them for others. So I don't know any local or family owned or black owned vendors within the circuit and community that make them. Because we have seamstresses and seamers, whatever, seams that just make them for our cast. So
and again, this is someone.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is, apologies for not being able to really fill that out. But if you have a group that you reenact with, that you're like, hey, I want to get started in this. You're like, heck yeah, welcome to the group. There's probably going to be somebody who can do that for you, who you can commission for a dress.
Exactly, and that is exactly my suggestion. Because I don't know who to go to aside from Etsy. Obviously, Etsy is going to be the number one suggestion throughout this entire podcast. But literally, the best thing to do is get someone on cast who does it already and is willing and able to get that commission done for you. Like I did leather bracers, and we'll get to that later. Apologies to anybody who has my leather bracers. But yeah, no, commission someone within cast. Like Deb. Let's name drop her. She's amazing.
Mazer, if you're listening, I miss you.
Babette. She makes them every year. She's got like a whole pattern. She's got everything like laid out already, pre-done for new people every single year. And she is amazing. And we've got other people that do that as well. However, I'm not 100% about the pattern that she uses. Is that historically accurate, or is that a reenactment thing?
I would bet you money, considering how much she's done this. She has her own pattern that she has adapted, And so it probably has its roots in something a little more historical, but I would bet you money over the years she has adapted it to make it simple and easy to make, because that is the kind of thing she would do.
Yeah, it kind of looks like, in my bad memory, kind of looks like overalls. Let me.
Well, you say overalls, but again, you gotta
That shape.
For dresses, you're going to have an underdress and you're going to have an overdress.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be the overdress, and
Yeah.
it is important for medieval women, and it is important for reenactors. It keeps the gunk off of your good dress.
Here it is. I got it. Oh well, this one's kind of weird. This is a Renaissance one, but same shape. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna take a look at that. The ones that we do specifically for our cast, and maybe I'll put something on Instagram for that, because I don't know. Obviously, pardon my ignorance. I don't, being male, I don't wear the dress for the show. I actually would love to have one made for me, just so that I know what it's like to fight in one. Know what it's like. What would women have to do to wear one and move in one, just for that perspective. But obviously, I'm not wearing one for a show, so I have no clue. Maybe I'll try to get Deb on here and discuss that, because I know you don't as well. You don't wear the dresses,
no,
or the skirts, aside from kilt from the
and as a note, since you bring it up, Scott's still wore trousers underneath that.
Exactly.
Anytime someone says they don't, because it's funny, that's a lie. It gets cold. Things get cold. You wear pants. I will end that rant there, but yes, wear your pants, people.
So my apologies, anyone who is listening who's trying to find suggestions for dresses over. I would definitely say go within cast, and then also check Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
I literally would say avoid Cult of Athena, even though I love Cult of Athena, and avoid the websites, because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't. We apologize. We cannot offer suggestions for this specific
item. But I do want to mention it. I do want to mention, because obviously Deb for our cast makes them. So check your cast, people. But let's not repeat conversation. Obviously, we're getting kind of waist high, aren't we? So for that, we have our belts.
Yay!
Our belts, or belt wraps if you're a pirate, because we do that too on occasion. But let's stick to medieval. So, what do you do? Where do you go?
So I have gotten my belts from Cult of Athena, because I let Cult of Athena. Cult of Athena, if you're listening, please send me more owl stickers.
Owl stickers.
Because it is Cult of Athena, and Athena's, as the Greek goddess, her animal was the owl. One of their swag stickers is this awesome little owl, like sticker of this of this owl bust, and I need more of them.
Yep, just like Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah. But since for what we do, I did end up getting a ring belt from one of the leather vendors at our fair, because I can't remember why. I needed the belt real bad, so I got one. And what you'll need
isn't that how it goes though?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. What you'll need, especially for pretty much every, I want to say almost every period, is just like a good ring belt. Except for Vikings. Vikings actually did use buckles. Most Viking belts did have actual buckle. It was not just the ring and wrap. And I was going to say, at this point, it's not just the belt is important. There is also a very important piece of equipment called, I believe it's the baldric, and that is the belt that goes over. It is. I think it is. Is it the belt that goes over the shoulder?
Yes.
It is the belt that goes over the shoulder. And while it seems a little like, I want to say this seems very anachronistic.
It is, yeah.
It is very important if you're like me and you don't have a waist for belts. Because let's just say,
okay.
yeah, but let's just say when you've got your belt sliding down your hips and you're trying to book it across the chessboard, you can't be hike. It's very difficult to hike that up. I actually started to wear a regular suspenders underneath my kit for my pants.
Helpful helpful hint. Actually got from Brent of Weird Vikings. 1 year, because I have the same problem. Belt kept falling down, and I would always have it on the right or the left, whichever. Who knows? I don't. And he like reversed it, and it perfectly fits every single time. And he's like, I don't know, it's horse logic. So maybe, I don't know, maybe reverse it from from the side of the hip you normally use. Who knows? It's upside down world as it pertains to belts. But I should notate, wide belts are not accurate. They're not historically accurate. Belts are traditionally going to be an inch and a half long. And I literally have all of one historically accurate belt. Now, in terms of getting a belt, obviously you can go and get a vendor. If you're in a festival, like what we do, vendors are usually open well before the festival begins. So if you need to get a piece of kit that's normally like, I don't have this, again, just do it.
And also it's very handy if you are at a vendor, they can size the belt for you and cut it to a proper length and finish off the end of it so it doesn't look super weird.
Exactly. That's a good suggestion to notate here. Anything we suggest, because we do a festival. I don't know how it is for you if you're in living history, SEA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In your particular experience listening to this, if you have access during your events to vendors or people that have tools to do this, but usually people with the tools to do that will help you. Like people that'll help us with crowns, people that help us with belts, gloves, whatever. Usually there's someone nearby that'll be like, yep, I'll have it back to you in 10 minutes.
Yep.
But specifically in terms of how to get that as part of your kit, I've always made my belts.
It's not a difficult piece of equipment to make. You just need to have a little bit of leatherworking skill.
A little bit, definitely in my end. But because I mean, some belts that I've made were a little lopsided. But yeah, no, I've usually made my own belts. I have bought my wide belt. Was a hand-me-down, but I also made one of my own wide belts. And I've made a belt for someone else, which unfortunately was a little lopsided. My apologies. But it's very easy. Just get a. I don't know. Tandy is local to us. Tandy Leather. Obviously, just to let you know, we're in the United States. We're in the East Coast. So if any of these aren't in your area and you're a little bit more local conscious, try to find a local vendor. If you're in another country like Scotland, England,
Ireland, okay, this is going to sound very bad, but France. I am in danger because there is a Tandy Leather literally just down the road from me.
Ooh,
like,
very good.
Like, I want to say maybe about less than 5 miles. Oh no, I'm in. Well, okay, maybe more than 5 miles, but it's close, and I am in trouble.
Now I cannot, off the top of my head, cannot tell you if Tandy is like a. Clearly, they're not a local industry, right?
No. It's a chain. It's a chain.
Yeah, so it's a corporate thing,
right? But they stock well. They have equipment. They do classes if you're interested in getting into leatherworking. And every time I hear somebody talk about Tandy, it's always positive. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a positive experience there. It was always local to us. We would just go to the local store. But
well, if you're up near Tampa, maybe I can drive that far for leather.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely source local instead of using Tandy. But if you're near a Tandy, I mean, I guess go ahead. But yeah, no, it's so easy just to make your own belt, and I mean that's what I would suggest. Either have someone on cast like myself who does leather crafting make it for you, or Etsy, or just go to actually. Usually, a leather vendor will have a pre-made belt strap.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
you
No,
don't
like,
even-
that's why
sometimes
you know. That's why one of my first recommendations would actually be just to go to a vendor. It's a simple piece of equipment that mostly everybody will carry.
Yeah, I mean, even a local leather vendor like Tandy would have just the plain strap of leather skin.
The blank. They call that
Yeah.
the blank.
Which is actually what you should get.
Yeah.
So historically accurate would be rawhide. Normally we use vegetan because that's the most available to us, which obviously is not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So try rawhide if your group is specific on historically accurate. But I mean, I don't know if it's really that pertinent.
Again, that is something that should be discussed with your group, and if you have one, a costume director.
Mm-hmm. And do bit of blip.
All right, so that's
I
belts.
don't know. Just a little cap end on the belt part. Obviously, you get your D rings, your belt buckles, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if I mean I think ours is just sterling or whatever weird plastic crap we use. But I mean, I don't know if maybe make them out of like silver, iron. If you can get iron, that'd be nice.
I mean, it probably would have been mostly iron because
Yeah.
you don't waste maybe even brass because you don't waste good. You wouldn't waste good steel. I feel like you wouldn't waste good steel on a buckle.
Yeah.
Like even have you I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. You see illustrations of medieval knights and they have like this fancy belt of little squares around their waist that's not actually really anything.
Yeah.
Those actually were like lead miniatures. It's really neat. Oh, I'd love to have one as part of my kit for, hold on 1 second. I have a cat. All right, Tiki, come on. Get comfortable, please. Don't. Sorry, Tiki's just like, I'm going to sit next to your mic and maybe rub my face on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's how it is. So yeah, go to use a local leather vendor. Try not to do the corporate end, but if you have to, I mean, we have positive experiences with Tandy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say go to local though. But moving up.
All right, so that would be I guess at this point would be the straight up tunic.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, this is one of those things that depends on the time frame you're working with specifically. But there is what I think we call it just the Tea Tunic.
Yes.
That will work for pretty much every medieval scenario you can think of.
Everything.
And this is one of those pieces I feel like it's very easy to do because a lot of times it's you get a couple of yards of the fabric, you fold it over, you sew a couple spots, and you cut out the neck, the hole for the neck. You've got a tunic.
Yeah, I think people get caught up in the gore and the little armlet thing.
Those are
yeah. But I mean, it's so simple. It's just the easiest thing in the world. Sometimes they were just one piece of fabric with a hole.
Well, it could taking into consideration how fabric was woven. A lot of the times they were one piece of fabric because it's just how it wasn't. You don't waste good fabric.
Yeah,
you make it.
And this of course goes hand in hand with the over and underdress. But obviously I would again just suggest someone on cast or a vendor at your show or Etsy. However, I would actually above that suggest doing it yourself. At least jumping in with both feet. I tried, but my sewing machine was terrible. But I mean, I'd rather learn how to do it myself. And I did mention Burnley and Town Bridge Co. But I mean, there's a lot of local vendors that you can use that are in your town with whoever they are, wherever you are. However, like I said, Etsy will let you narrow that down. I got a lot of pure wool fabric, herringbone style, just by looking up state local as in vendors here where I am, and just buying from them through Etsy. So that way it's literally people I could drive to.
And again, that's important because sizing for something like this, because it might end up being a main part of your kit. You want it to be comfortable. You want it to be something you actually really like.
Yeah, you want something that's going to last you. You want something that's going to be good for both historical as well as anachronistic.
But as an addendum, it still doesn't hurt to try it, because with every good tunic, you still want something beneath it on your skin, absorbing sweat so it doesn't ruin your good tunic.
Yes. So you'll want, obviously, actually, there's technically, if you want to go historical, you're going to wear two. So you're going to have your linen undergarment.
Yep.
Then your
one on the
wool
skin,
over.
soaking up the one on your skin, soaking up all the sweat, and then your nice woolen one.
Getting your smelly. And then your wool, which will be the over. I think, what's an appropriate length? I think that's a little bit below the knees.
So again, that
changes.
That changes with the era. Like a lot of times, it was just above the knees because it's cold. It gets cold, you know. But as fashion changed and the skill of tradesmen increased, then you started getting some fancy stuff, and that's when that hem started to rise to the awful place it is today.
Yeah, not to be confused with the tabard. Obviously, we should mention that too. But like a tabard is basically just your single piece of fabric, unless you do the split or the checker.
So the tabard, again, this kind of falls into that category of what would, like, you have your under tunic, you might have that second tunic over it, you have your woolen one. That might also occasionally end up being your tabard because it's over that, unless you're wearing armor, and I don't think we're going to go to armor on this one. But the tabard is mostly specifically a piece that was meant to go over the armor to protect the metal from the sun and protect you from turning into an oven.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to continue our armor series, so we'll discuss it more there.
Yes.
We'll just say armor, just go to one of the websites, in all honesty. Unless you know someone local.
Yeah, armor's not the focus of this one.
We'll get to that in our armor series because we still doing that. But yeah, no, try to make it yourself. Get a local, either in your zip code, because I'm sure there's got to be some fabric nearby in your town. If not, statewide is on your side. But I don't know any specific vendors for that. I can suggest ones, but they're local to me, and I don't want to say local vendors that'll find me out. So try to pinpoint. If not, go to cast or festival vendor that you do.
Yep. So that's tunics, and also again, tunics can change depending on the era. The tunic that you are wearing is part of your kit, part of your costume. It can be very different between era, between cultures. If that decoration wise, like, especially, like, this is going to come up because Viking's a little more Viking. Most Viking groups will have somebody that says, "Hey, I can tablet weave this little strip for you this little decorative strip that goes around the hem of your tunic, if that's what you need. If not, have somebody who is skilled enough to make you the whole dang thing."
Yeah, let's also group in padded armor for that too. Give or take in terms of fabric.
Yeah.
But question, actually, before you move on, I want to say something I want to notate that I was thinking about as we were talking, and a question. What side are you on in terms of, does the chainmail go over the tunic or under the tunic?
Ooh. So I would say that it would go over the tunic, just because you want that. If you don't have any other layer to go underneath it, you want that layer of cloth between your skin and the chainmail. But you probably would have, if you were going to be going into battle, you would probably already have, this is the tunic I'm going to wear under this chainmail. Because them rings pinch, yo.
Yeah. So that's unique because I've seen both. I've seen both interpretations.
Well, again, something going over the chain, going over the armor, I think that'd fall under the tabard classification.
Yeah, I think I've also done both. Like, if you look at the pictures of me when I did the medieval combat series here on this channel, that's more so in those little medieval Monday videos that are kind of popping up. I'm wearing the green tunic, which is more of a shirt, over the chainmail. However, I've also, in the earlier years of doing the fair that we do, have worn over the tunic, which I'm over the tabard. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to look that up. We'll get back to that in the armor series. But let's move on from that then.
All right. So belt, tunic. I guess we should talk about cloaks. I don't feel like I have a lot of input to add to this because
how about a quick notation? Quick notation: staying around the chest area or like a torso, right? Gloves.
Ooh, good point.
So historically, let me really quick note. Historically, I think they wore fingerless gloves. Historically, they wore fingerless gloves. I'm going to look that up, but I think right now, from what I've been looking at, just off the top of my head, pardon my ignorance, because I'm sure I'm wrong in several occasions, but I'm seeing a lot of fingerless gloves as a historical artifact. But we cover our fingers.
Yeah, I would say I don't know much on that. The more historical gloves that I am familiar with are the mitten kind that were part of armor, being armored and wearing gauntlets. That's
a whole other thing. We'll discuss that at some point.
That's a whole other kettle of fish, but
obviously there's the null binding mittens and winter mittens. So that's totally a thing too. So check that out. That is period. But we typically just get at least I did. I typically just get my gloves from the local vendors when literally at show. I don't wear the ones that I get at show during show, but I get them in preparation for like the next one, or if something ripped, because that happens too. Because I'm gonna say this, no offense to our vendors, but the ones that we get at our vendor show are typically really bad quality.
Oof.
They don't last more than a year or two.
Oof.
So I don't know if you are on our cast or on your own cast, CA, whatever, and you have gloves that have lasted you a long time. You do fighting like us specifically.
Well,
because
I was going to add this is I feel like this is for people who do combat. Gloves are usually considered a necessity because of the protection to the hand.
Absolutely. I mean, I would even for hand to hand.
Yeah. So I feel like, if the first thing they would, the director would say to you, the first thing you want is a good pair of boots. The second thing he would say is you want a good pair of gloves, especially if you are intent on fighting.
We've had instances during show where people would have lost a finger if it wasn't for wearing a glove.
Ooh.
And we've had instances where people have injured their hands because they didn't wear a glove. Granted, not last year, but the last year to the show, I didn't wear gloves. However, I'm stupid, and my fight was comfortable enough in terms of there was very little going on around my hands that I was comfortable enough not wearing them. But even still, I should have. I think I started wearing it during rehearsal, but then they broke, and I'm like, I'm too poor to buy more.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a mood. But anyway, I would just go with the local vendor. But if I don't know, we have people that go to like local stores and just get like whatever deerskin gloves or whatever. But honestly, I don't know.
I could say that for my first kit, I think that I ended up getting a pair of welding gloves.
Yeah, that's what I see a lot in our group. Suede as well, stuff like that. Maybe try making them.
It couldn't hurt. You never know what you learn too.
I mean, it's I don't know. Get a pattern, make it, be the person on cast that people go to for gloves. Um, but yeah, for that, just go. I would say Etsy or local vendor. Local vendor at your festival. But then, what else here do we have? Well, yeah, cloak. So there's two different things that we can talk about in terms of cloak. One is hooded. The other is not.
Ooh, does that mean I can talk about the hood?
Indeed.
All right, so this is my tangent off of this. So the Cressy year, where I was an archer, I had a hood, and in this case, hoods could actually be separate pieces of clothing. That was, there was like the kind of bib around the neck and the shoulders, and then the hood. And they had, and most medieval hoods you will find have this wonderful little construction called the Liri pipe, Liri pipe. And it is that funny tail that most medieval, if you see a medieval hood, it has a funny little tail. That's what that is. That is the neatest little thing, because, and I learned this when I was constructing mine, that, a peasant would possibly keep stuff in that, like his pay, because it's on your hood. It's in the end of this fabric pipe. Nobody's going to be able to get that without you knowing. And I just wanted to say that because I thought it was the coolest little thing, and it has a name, and it's called the Liri pipe.
Your head sock. It's your head sock. And it's interesting seeing how that fashion kind of evolved into people turning it out inside out and this and that, and then becoming such a whimsical thing. However, yeah, so there's obviously the hooded, but I'm not 100% when the hooded cloak started. And now when I'm saying hooded, I mean as part of the actual cloak fabric.
Not just the separate hood.
Not separate. Because obviously there's the rectangular cloak or cape and the square. I'm making a square cloak for the channel, which is literally just me sewing the edges so that it doesn't fray. You just buy a square yard or whatever of fabric, and there you go, you did it. That one would be made of wool, unless you had a lining with which would probably be more wool or linen. But yeah, it could just be like a yard of fabric. And again, there you go. You could just go to Etsy, your local fabric, or your festival vendors. But as it pertains to when the hood was attached to the cape, I don't know when that started. And that is actually a point of contention for me, because I am working on a series for the channel that delves into medieval Hollywood. So Hollywood's interpretation of medieval, and I'm doing an episode on Father Bayaka from The Last Kingdom, who obviously is a Christian monk. He's a priest specifically, and obviously everything on The Last Kingdom is anachronistic. However, he is wearing a hooded cloak, hooded cape, as part of his gear. Not only that, but he's actually wearing a hood as part of his priestly garb. So my point of contention is that I don't think that was a thing during the Viking era, at least for priests at that time. And I'm trying to narrow down when hoods. I'm fairly certain priests didn't wear it as part of their garb in the Viking era specifically for that video. But I want to know, what year? What year were hoods? Did someone go like, oh, you know what? Let's attach that.
Well, so, it feels like a hooded cloak is, I want to say, organic, because if you've got the cloak to protect your body from the weather, you're eventually going to be like, oh God, I can't get my head wet. Put this, pull it over your head. So
even the Romans did that. Romans would turn up their cape into a hood and such. There's the I don't want to say Hedabe, which I keep seeing everybody doing it incorrectly, by the way. Because there's these little tassels on the side, and nobody puts the tassels on the side. but it's a separate thing. It's literally a hood. It's not a cape. It's not a cloak. It's a hood. So that is covering your shoulders. It's several panels of fabric, and it can or cannot have a leer pipe. It should have tassels on the side, so you can tuck it and tie it in the back, so that it's easier to expose your face if you need to. Which I don't see anybody doing in recreation. Why aren't you doing that? But anyway, so that's not what I'm talking about. So that's a separate hood, as opposed to the cloak, the cape. So that's Viking era. That's a Viking era hood.
I think you have to take into consideration that a cape would not just be a cape, cloak, whatever. It probably would also double as a blanket. And I know we discussed this, if not in the last episode, the episode before that. I had my Viking kit includes a wool blanket. That is the cloak. That is.
I think that's a major point to put up. Obviously, that would be your blanket. You'd want something that's the size of you.
Yeah, it's true.
Although. Final point on that. Sorry. Go ahead, you first.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you're not wrong. And if you're gonna be traveling, you want something heavy that is also warm and possibly durable enough to maybe turn aside a blow or two. Like any good heavy woolen cloth will do.
Yeah. If you can do the wool that has, it looks like the actual wool. As if it was freshly sheared.
Yeah, what you're thinking of is
you're
thinking of lanolin, which is the natural oil that sheep secrete. I think that's what you're thinking of. It's wool goes through before it is actually turned into cloth. Wool goes through a process that cleans these oils off of the fibers, but for overcoat, for blankets and cloaks and whatnot, usually that oil would be left on the wool because it is water resistant. So I think that's what I think. I want to say I think that's what you're thinking of.
No, and my apologies. I should have written it down. But there's a style of wool where it looks like it's fur. Pile weaving.
Oh, okay.
Pile weaving. It looks like a woolly mammoth. But yeah, no, that looks like it's a really warm. But
nice.
That's a method. I don't know where you're gonna get that, but
it's probably something you'd have to commission because it just looks really work intensive.
You know what? While we're on the mend here, let's do a quick Etsy search. Pile weaving. Pile weave. I'm not seeing it on Etsy.
Yeah, so that might be something you have to try and actually search out if you want to be that authentic.
Yeah, maybe if you know a local vendor that does that, then I would definitely go there. It seems like a much rarer thing then.
It seems to be used a lot for rugs, but
weirdly enough, yeah.
You don't want a whole rug.
I wonder if that is where the pelt look came from.
I can believe it. That heuristics that I just had it. Was it Herstwick?
Yeah. So wearing a whole pelt over your shoulder is not a thing, but maybe the image was obtained by people that were wearing pile weave cloaks. I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on that, but it kind of seems like looking at someone wearing something that looks like fur would make you think that.
Oh, I can see that. I can see that for sure. And then you get into actually portraying it artistically, which is a whole kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Googling images is such a pain in the butt because everything is in Pinterest.
Yeah. Of course, Vikings would have tablet woven belts. Just to put that out there. Just to put that in there, because I know we didn't mention that, but
yeah,
a lot of little things we're not going to be able to remember. So my apologies if we throw things in there. Just it's you got to dodge it or catch it. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can definitely see how this kind of, that kind of weaving could lend itself to be like, oh, is clearly wearing just, a fur cloak that's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the head, we do have hats. Hats were a thing.
Hats were a thing, but, were you ever a part of were you ever into the fancy hat club?
And I was not.
Gasp. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. Hats are very. I like usually hoods filled that. I feel like wouldn't hoods fill that?
Yeah. However, in the Viking era, 9th century, they did have pillbox hats.
Yeah.
Pillbox caps. I'm making one out of pure wool herringbone fabric for the channel, which is interesting. We don't know how they wore it, but that is a thing. They also, I think, wore a few other styles of caps, like just literally a piece of fabric on your head, maybe a panel or two or whatever, and a few other things. So, I mean, the hats were a thing. I don't think we have as many artifacts of hats, but at least we have some.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm seeing your pillbox hat. And if you're a woman, you're wearing a wimple, more than likely.
Wimple, which
you are covering your hair to not inflame the lust of the men around you, because hair does that to people.
Yeah, how dare you wear whatever you want to wear because a man tells you so, right? It's stupid, but whatever.
But again, it's kind of, I feel like that falls into the category of you don't know enough to really give you the good information, because
let's I'm gonna give a little clicky click to Deb, see if she'll come in here, because she makes these every year for everybody who doesn't have one.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
See what, because mainly because she makes them, right? See what her perspective is. But in any case, yes, there is the wimple, cloak, hats are a thing, and beyond that, beyond like just general accessories like pottery and whatnot, which we can go on in another bend.
Medieval accessories.
Any other sort of thought?
It's we can give all of the suggestions and where it looks. A lot is probably going to end up depending on the era you're portraying and your budget. So, don't, if you are getting into reenactment and you can't don't feel like you have to find the perfect fit thing. It's building your kit's a process, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in one season. It's not going to happen in 1 month. You find something that works for you. You find that one tunic that you just like, the color's perfect and it fits just right. And, that becomes your tunic. Especially if you're just, you're reenacting as, your own character in like an SCA group or something. It shouldn't be a process that is stressful. It should be a process of your personal creativity.
And feel free to change your kit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of reenactors tend to just be stuck in their ways and stay with what they have. Obviously, our Son of Sandlar boots. I'll make some turn shoes, but as it pertains to fighting, I don't know how safe I'd feel wearing turn shoes.
Right.
But for living history, I would definitely want to wear turn shoes. But I mean, look at me. For pretty much the 10 years that I've been doing this, I have been completely ignorant to historically accurate kit. And I'm like, it's gotta be linen or cotton. And here I go. It's not really a thing. Wait a minute. Linen's not going to be your over attire.
Mm-hmm.
I am everything that I have up until this point, this moment that I am talking to you, has been just about completely anachronistic.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to take a look at yourself in the mirror and be like, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something that, no, not wrong, but am I doing something that I could do better? Mm-hmm. Is there something, a part of my kit that could change? Is there something that I could maybe acquire that would look better or whatever. Whatever. It all depends on the group that you're in. It depends on obviously your purse, and depends on how you want to come across.
Heck yeah.
Some people want specifically 100% historically accurate, and I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
then some people also want to be like, hey, I want to look good, but I also don't want to hurt myself. And
or okay with being laxed. Or, like our group, is a fantasy festival. I mean, straight up. I love them, but we are absolutely like the Battle of Cressy with fairies. Battle of Cressy with... The Battle of Cressy with fairies. That's us.
I don't even have to say that.
King Arthur, but with fairies.
Now, in fairness,
mm-hmm.
one of King Arthur's knights did have a talking lion companion. So
and fight a green knight. The bottle cap falls. Actually, that reminded me because I actually wanted to make a notation about King Arthur.
Yes.
And we definitely need to do an episode on King Arthur, and that needs to be a whole series.
Yeah.
This is very specific to our group, and we'll close it out on this little funny notation or historical sidebar. So we did Return of Avalon, and we did, as I'm literally talking and trying to reach a bottle cap that fell beneath my chair.
Good job.
What was that scenario we did for the second one? I don't even know the name of it.
I couldn't tell you because I was not in it, and personally,
I don't know. I don't remember the name. I think it was just because it should have been Morgan Le Fay's year, but then they turned it into King Arthur's year.
Yeah.
So not to throw shade, but we'll just say the Morgan Le Fay scenario because that's more appropriate. And if you have problems with that, at me.
Well, I thought I thought it was supposed to be the sword and the stone scenario, but then they kind of mushed in Morgan Le Fay to.
I thought it was supposed to be Morgan Le Fay's year, and then they mushed in Sword in the Stone. Anyway, that's up to debate. It was a wonderful year. Yeah. So, King Arthur is often kind of, if King Arthur was real, right? King Arthur is usually romanticized as about 5th century, so something like that. So, why is King Arthur? Everyone in King Arthur wearing like 14th, 15th to 16th century gear. And why did we interpret King Arthur as a sort of postmodern goth rock opera?
So I have one word for you about this, and I think I'm going to say it, and I'm going to also say that I'm going to feel you cringe through the voice chat. Victorians.
Yeah. Obviously when people depict things, they depict it in their era. Because that's what they know. Victorians saw things in their style. People that depicted the Vikings, when they started drawing the Vikings out more physically on their paintings and such, rather than those horrible medieval arts, they depicted them in knightly manners. Wearing knightly clothing when there was no knights in that time period. So I get that. But if King Arthur is supposed to be like 5th century, like before the Vikings, why were we wearing nearly Victorian era clothing?
Again, it's gonna be a whole nother thing because King Arthur is
lazy booking,
is a complex web of stories from some very different cultures coming together. Because, if I recall correctly, King Arthur was originally Welsh. But that aside, it's it's definitely going to be a whole nother basket to pick at.
Hole in the wall, but lazy booking. Just putting that out there. But anywho, so I hope in our rambling that has helped you get some ideas of where to get your kit. Obviously, best suggestion, Etsy. And your local vendors, whether they are on cast or on festival site. That is the top 3, aside from the other kind of little stretches we've talked about. That's pretty much all I have. Anything you want to cap it on?
No, I think I feel like I added my cap there at the end. Pretty good.
Indeed, we have added our pillbox caps, and that has been that has been an episode of the Talk Past podcast. We will catch you again in 2 weeks. But until then, check out the Patreon, check out the Instagrammies, check out all the socials, and may David Bowie's gift of music light your way.
Yeah. Again, to tap off on yours, if you like us, leave a comment. If you have any suggestions for a topic, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And so I am still wearing socks. Your friendly Red Iron Riot, aka the War Queen.
And I'm NC, the usual occasional host, sometimes, but I'm definitely not the host with the most. But I'm more the host with the ghost. But yes, that is it. Enjoy the day. Bibbidi bop.
Hooray! Oh, man.